Hi guys. So the other day I received these axles. They're an Extra Speed brand axle from an eBay purchase, and I noticed over time that several of you have been wondering if anybody's got these axles, if anybody's running these axles, if they're any good, what the just any information about them really. If any of you guys have tried looking into details on these via the internet, I'm sure you guys have come up with absolutely nothing for information. What they are is a four-wheel diff locking lockable axle, front and rear, and what I got is the front and rear set, and the set includes the front and rear axle. Obviously, it includes the 4/3 link the brackets that you can mount your servo onto the axles themselves. It also includes for whatever reason, it includes two servo plates. This is only front wheel drive, so obviously I only need one. I'm not sure why they sent the second one. As well as it included one set of aluminum servo mounting brackets and of course, 12 millimeter. I think they're aluminum or steel. I'd say they're steel hexes because they're fairly heavy. It also includes 4 zip ties for the servo cables to unlock and lock your diffs, and then that includes the 2 shifting cables, which is basically a shifting cable for a mountain bike, just a lot shorter. Anyway, after opening up these axles, I learned that the paint that they use is fairly cheap. As you can see, I've done nothing to this axle and it's already chipped. Not a big deal considering it's going to be used on a rock crawling truck, and it's going to be a slow build. But anyway, it's a rock crawling truck, so it's going to be drug over concrete and rocks and stuff like that, and it's not going to stay in pristine condition by any means. The paint's going to get chipped quite a bit. The rear axle, I did notice that one of the output shafts for the tire was locked right up, and I believe it was on the shifting side where the shifting fork goes into the diff. And after taking the axle apart, I learned that the reason why it was locked up is because the shifting fork wasn't made correctly. Like I guess it was too thick to go into the collet, and so as the axle spun, it started binding on the shifting selector, which is this little guy here. And I was able to remedy the problem fairly easy. And what I did was I took a file, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but I took a file to the edges of the fork and kind of gave them a beveled edge, as well as I took a file to one side and made it a little bit thinner, and that allows the shifting fork to ride inside the groove on the collet freely. So when you spin the axle itself, there's no binding. Another issue that I did notice is that on the collet for the shifting selector, there was no grease. And so I took a little bit of the grease off the diff itself, and just to try it out, and it seems to spin a lot better. The collet or the shifting selector seems to ride in the groove without any interference. Another thing I did notice is that Extra Speed did decide to use a spring to make the diff automatically lock. So in my opinion, I feel like that is going to cause a couple other issues. One being it's going to burn out your servos prematurely, as it's constantly, if you want an unlocked diff, that servo's constantly got to pull on that cable, and it's got that spring constantly fighting it to reset. And another thing is, I believe that the XTRA Speed used a gauge of spring that is too heavy. There's quite a bit of tension on that, and realistically, it doesn't need the shifting selector. The collet does not need that much pressure. It just needs pressure to hold it in there. That's it. So why they went with such a heavy gauge spring, I'm not sure. The ring gears in this set, it looks to me like it's made of hardened metal. It doesn't look like it's any like the potash or just like a molded gear, which is kind of a bonus. I was expecting, a cheap gear set in there, but I guess only time will tell once it gets put into a truck, this axle or these axles, and actually used out in the real world. I think that's when the time will tell whether it'll hold up to the abuse or not. I haven't taken the diffs apart, so I'm not sure the quality of the spider gears in there, whether it's a 3-gear or 4-gear or 2-gear setup inside there, but I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. The rear axle, the gear mesh is so well. I was extremely surprised after I fixed that selecting issue. The gear mesh, you can't hear those gears as you spin it. However, the front axle is a completely different story, and I'm not sure if they overpacked this axle with too much grease, or if there's a shim in there that shouldn't be in there on the pinion or the output shaft. But it seems that you can feel the gear mesh real, almost too bad. It definitely needs work on it. The shifting selector on this, same issue as the rear. It seems to bind. So, oh, there we go. Finally, after 3 or 4 attempts at making this video, it finally reset itself. The front axle is also auto locking. It's got the same gauge gear inside, or spring inside it. So again, it's going to have, it's going to wear out your servo prematurely, as well as cause excess battery drain. I don't know. My opinion, I might just take the spring out, get creative with the mounting of the shifting cable, and set it up so that it does a push-pull action, and this way I can run it either locked or unlocked and not have any strain on that servo. On the front axle, the knuckles, it looks like they're not CNC'd. It looks to me like they're injection made by a mold. These axles are definitely not Vanquish quality, of course. You can see a lot of lines in them, but on a budget, I think they'll definitely pass. The drive shafts, the output shafts on the front, they look like they're kind of an MIP setup, and it looks like it's definitely steel. They're not aluminum, and they're definitely steel, but I'm not sure how long they'll last, because there is no stopper on the axle to prevent the drive shafts from being overthrown. And I think there might be excess bind issues that'll wear the joints out fairly quick. So to prevent that, I guess it's going to rely heavily on your radio system and setting your endpoints properly. So far, what I can say about these axles is, keep in mind that this is my first set of axles for a rock crawler or a scale trail truck, and so I can't really voice an opinion on this, but they seem heavy. They seem to be, you know, they're pretty durably built, like, I don't know, like pretty stout. I don't know. If you're on a budget, give them a try. You know, you're definitely going to have a few small problems to solve right off the line, I'm sure, as, you know, both of mine had shifting issues. But they're not very big issues, you know, fairly easy to fix. So if you have any more questions on these axles, feel free to message me, and I'll try to answer as best as I can. And if you're looking for a running video of these axles, it's going to be a while before I can get these onto a truck. What I'm doing is a special build. I had a custom body 3D printed hard shell of my father's farm truck, and I'm going to take my time on the build. So I'm not expecting to have it fully running for probably a year. So hopefully somebody will do a running video on these before I get the chance to, and we actually learn what the trail capabilities are of these. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.